Hi everybody, this is Sean Govan at Honeydrop Farm. I just wanted to talk about some mistakes that I've made with queens over the past 4 years. I bought some queens when the weather was really warm this April, just 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, and I was going to make some really small two-frame splits with them. And then the weather turned cold and was getting down into the 20s at night. And it had been in the 40s at night. So I decided to wait, and I'm thinking now it would have been better off to just go ahead and make the splits and let that brood get chilled and let it die, and then they would just clean it up when they were done, and then that queen would be laying again, because I've lost a lot of queens keeping them in this queen bank. So some of them are still alive. I bought 20 for this first round of early splits, and I've lost 12 of those 20. So the first mistake I made was, I think, keeping them inside and not giving them enough water. I gave them a drop twice a day, but this is another story. But once I gave a queen a little too much water and she died. But anyway, I gave them water twice a day, and I think it was just too warm and dry, and it just wasn't enough water. So 7 of the 20 died, and that left me with 13. So then I put the 13 in this queen bank, in this hive, to bank them, so that the nurse bees would feed them. And the nurse bees have been feeding them, but I think that I didn't put all the boxes close enough to the middle of the cluster. I had some of them out here. Some of those queens died. This one was over here, and I think, yep, this one died, and she was on the side away from the cluster, I think. And there was a couple other ones that died, and I'm not sure why, but apparently there's always a few queens that die when you bank them. So I'm thinking I should have just gone ahead and made those splits. So anyway, mistake number 1, I dehydrated some. Mistake number 2, I banked them instead of just going ahead and making the splits, and whatever happens, happens. They'll be fine. Once the weather warms up, they'll clean out the dead brood and start laying, and she'll start laying again. And then the other mistake I mentioned was from a couple years ago when I gave that queen too much water. It was raining. It was raining when I went down to the local bee store to buy her. This is when I first started beekeeping, and so I bought her, and it was kind of raining. So I carried her outside in the cage, and some rain got on the cage, and I thought, well, no big deal. It'll dry out, and queens need to drink. But she was climbing all over that cage, and her abdomen was rubbing on the wires, and it was wet. And then she was all wet, and I think she got in the sugar, and then the wet dissolved the sugar, and it got all over her, and I think that suffocated her by covering her spiracles. Anyway, I'm sure that she got too much water, and the sugar got on her, all over her, coating her, and then that killed her. You know, the sugar candy in the plug in the cage. Other mistakes I've made with queens, well, last year, my last round of splits of the year, I didn't think I'd have enough time and maybe not enough drones to make all the splits I wanted. So I bought 40 queens, and they I lost a lot of them just into the air. I wanted to make sure I got as high an acceptance as possible, so I decided to release them by hand after a few days once I could see that the bees had accepted them already in the cage. So I didn't want to let the bees release them. I wanted to hand release them when they were ready. So some of them took a little longer than others. But anyway, hand releasing them, I lost a few into the wild blue yonder, and then marking queens, I've lost a few. They just have flown away and not come back. So until you're really confident holding queens, I guess you just need to mark them in your veil or bring them inside to mark them. For some reason, still, whenever I'm holding a queen, I get so excited and nervous that my hands shake a lot, and it's kind of hard to hold on to her, and I'm kind of afraid I'll squish her. I used to be afraid I'd get stung, but now I know that doesn't happen with queens. So anyway, those are some mistakes that you can avoid. If this was helpful, please like and subscribe. We plan to be keeping bees for a living by next year. If you have any questions, then please like and subscribe. Please, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And I'll thank you for watching.